Nobody's here. Who am I? Where is this? Too many things are happening at once. The first thing I felt was the cold. Not just a chill, but a deep gnawing freeze that clawed its way to my chest, threatening to hollow me out from the inside. Encountering more of those things, panic surged, but didn't paralyze me. My body reacted on instinct, and before I knew it, I was smashing their skulls. The crunch of bone beneath my hands made my stomach turn, but the cold reminded me I didn't have time to dwell on it. Finally seeing some with clothes, I tore the tattered pieces from its body, ignoring the lifeless flesh beneath. It was disgusting, but the alternative was frostbite, or worse. I wrapped myself in the filthy rags and pressed forward, the teeth chattering so hard I thought they'd crack. The trailer park was a graveyard. Every door I opened led to the same sight: looted shelves, empty cupboards, and an occasional corpse, frozen solid in grotesque positions. But I couldn't stop searching. The cold gnawed at me, a constant reminder that I needed more clothes, more supplies, more warmth. Then came the gunshots, faint, distant, but real. Someone was alive out there. The sound was like a spark in the darkness, and I clung to it. I didn't think, I just moved. My feet were numb by the time I reached the edge of the trailer park, but the thought of warmth, of answers, drove me forward. I found a neighborhood buried under snowdrifts, the buildings standing like frozen tombstones. The cold made everything harder. My fingers felt like stone as I pried open doors and searched through the drawers. The zombies were stiff and slow, their frozen limbs cracking as they moved. Killing them wasn't difficult, but the chill never let me forget how close I was to their fate. By nightfall, I had found shelter in one of the larger homes. The walls were thin, and the wind still seeped in through the cracks, but it was better than the trailer. Taking refuge in one of the rooms, I realized I had scavenged enough supplies to hold up for a day or two. But unfortunately, the cold was still there, waiting just beyond these walls. It wasn't something I could escape. It was a predator, relentless and patient, and I knew it would claim me if I let my guard down. But here, I could breathe a little. I tried to think, to remember who I was and how I ended up here. The only thing that came to me was a name: John. I don't know if that's me, but tomorrow I figured it out. Tomorrow, I'll find answers. Morning came, though it was hard to tell through the dense gray clouds. The gunfire from yesterday still echoed in my mind. Someone was out there, and if they were alive, they might have answers, or warmth. Going west seemed as a good direction as any. I spent the morning looting nearby buildings. Most were barren, picked clean long before I arrived, but persistence paid off. Few books, some food here and there, and luckily an old map of the area. It wasn't detailed, but it gave me a better sense of the quarantine zone. I returned to the car I found yesterday, a pristine sedan half buried in the snow. The windows were frosted over, and the engine was surprisingly in perfect condition. When I hotwired it, the engine sputtered to life. The sound was jarring in the eerie silence of the frozen city, but it filled me with hope. The roads weren't the greatest, near packed with snow and abandoned vehicles, but it was faster than walking. That's when I found it, a generator, near the gate of the town. My breath got caught in my throat. If I could get this working, I could fight the cold, maybe even find some semblance of normalcy, but I didn't know how to use it. As I continued, I began to notice something strange about the bodies. Yesterday, in my desperation, I barely registered them, but today I saw it. Military uniforms, soldiers. Their weapons were gone, their gear stripped, but their presence raised questions I wasn't ready for. Clearing the checkpoint was exhausting. The zombies were more active here, their icy limbs less stiff in the midday chill. I fought hard, my body moving on instinct as I dodged and struck. One by one they fell until I carved out a small safe zone. I left the north and south exits open, a precaution in case I needed to make a quick escape. But the fight had drained me. My arms felt like lead, and every breath was a struggle against the icy air. As I rummaged through the checkpoint, I realized how unprepared I was for what lay beyond. If the checkpoint was this bad, what would I find further west? More zombies? More corpses? Or something worse? By the time the sun had begun to set, I knew I couldn't push on. I loaded all my supplies into the car and drove back to the house I spent in the previous night. It was good to be back in the somewhat warmth. I thought of the gunfire again. The distant sound of life in a world seemed utterly dead. Whoever was there, I hoped they were safe. Tomorrow, I would cross the checkpoint. Tomorrow, I would find out what waited on the other side. For now, all I could do was rest and brace myself for the dangers ahead. The storm had only grown worse overnight. Snow had piled high against the house, and the howling wind rattled the windows as if trying to claw its way in. But I couldn't let it stop me. Not today. I packed what little I needed and headed back to the checkpoint. The car was my lifeline. Every mile to carry me through the blizzard felt like borrowed time. But as I continued west, the path ahead became impossible. Abandoned vehicles clogged the way, their frozen shells locked in place by the snow. I had no choice but to continue on foot. The cold was merciless, each step through the snow stealing more of my strength. Then I saw it, evidence of a fight. Bloodstains painted in the snow, stark against the white, and the bodies were scattered. Some were frozen where they fell, but this wasn't in the quarantine zone. This was on the other side. My stomach twisted, and panic set in. If someone was out there, they might still be alive, or worse. They might have already been gone. The moment I exited the checkpoint, the storm seemed to explode around me. Snow whipped against the windshield, and the shadows of zombies loomed in the distance. They were everywhere now. Staggering through the drifts, drawn by the sound of the engine, I weaved through them, narrowly avoiding the abandoned cars and wreckage. I found a neighborhood up ahead. Its narrow streets winding like veins through the snow. My gut told me it might lead back to the battle site, but something else caught my eye. An abandoned truck sitting in the middle of the road, a trailer attached to the back. When it was over, I saw him. His gear told me he was probably the owner. I'm sorry. I was too late. He didn't hear me, of course. He couldn't. I stripped his backpack of supplies, knowing they would go to waste otherwise. It didn't feel right. None of this felt right. The storm was relentless as I drove back to the house, but my mind was louder than the blizzard. Could I have saved him? If I had moved faster yesterday, could I have made a difference? Or was I fooling myself into thinking I could save someone at all? When I reached home, I sat in silence, staring at the supplies I'd taken, and a new thought began to form. If I wanted to save lives, I needed more than luck. I needed a plan, a safe place, a shelter where others could survive and thrive. But then another idea crept into my mind, one I couldn't shake. What if I could do more? What if I could make a cure?